In 1982, Peter Weir, who would go on to direct films like Dead Poets Society and The Truman Show, directed a film called The Year of Living Dangerously. In the film, there's a character named Billy Kwan, a Chinese-Australian dwarf, who was played by a relatively unknown actor at the time. If I had seen this movie blindly without knowing anything about it, based on the performance of this actor, I would have stayed after the credits to see who it was. I'm sure some people did that, and I bet you anything they were even more intrigued to find that the part was played by a woman, actress Linda Hunt. She won an Oscar for this role in 1984 for Best Supporting Actress and has been working regularly ever since. But we'll get to all that later. First off, Linda Hunt was born on April 2nd, 1945 in Morristown, New Jersey, and was raised in Westport, Connecticut. Her birth name is Lydia Susanna Hunter. Her father, Raymond Hunter, was the vice president of an oil company, and mother, Elsie Hunter, was a piano teacher. Linda was born with a form of dwarfism called hypopituitary dwarfism. Simply put, the pituitary gland doesn't release enough growth hormones. At her tallest, she's grown to 4'9". Although when Linda was younger, doctors didn't know what was wrong with her. When she was around 6 months old, her parents noticed that her motor development was slow. They took her to Baby's Hospital in New York, where the examining doctor told them that Linda had cretinism and would probably need to be institutionalized eventually. Her parents did the exact opposite. They both worked with her, improving her movement and reading to her at night, seemingly showing nothing but love and support. It was the support of her parents and perhaps her love for acting that helped motivate Linda. She expressed an interest in acting at an early age. In an interview for Parade magazine in 1991, she said, "I'm lucky that I've always known what I wanted to do. I went to see Mary Martin in Peter Pan when I was 8. She was astonishing in her belief in the world she was creating, and that was fascinating to me. She had the power to make others believe what was in her mind. I never thought I couldn't do it."
And what was it about Peter Pan that really struck you?
That it was bigger than life, and that in some sense I longed to be bigger than life, because I wasn't.
One thing that Linda began to develop in her youth was her unique voice. And I mean literally the way she spoke. No one talks like Linda Hunt. It's its own recipe of, I don't know what, but it sounds so crisp and clean.
4 weeks into the new semester, my superintendent told me I had to replace Mrs. Hagley, a kindergarten teacher of 25 years' experience, with an undercover police officer, and he wouldn't even tell me why.
Here she is talking about how she developed it on a special for the CBS morning show.
When I was 16, nobody else talked like me, nobody else sounded like me.
There was a confidence in that.
Oh, absolutely.
That made you big.
That made me big.
But that confidence she had would be put to the test, like it is with so many struggling performers. In the early 60s, Linda was living in a small apartment in New York. She worked as a stage manager for several years. She said, "I was very young and very lost. I didn't even attempt to act professionally. That would have meant getting an agent and going on auditions. I wasn't capable of doing any of that. It was truly emotionally beyond me." Also, she had spent years trying to fix her dwarfism, undergoing tests and trying medications. People at her drama school told her that she would have a hard time getting into acting and encouraged her to direct instead. It's as if this experience pushed her to try and correct herself in a way. After 3 years, she moved back home feeling defeated. Then her acting coach kind of lit a fire under her by encouraging her to give it another try. Instead of moving back to New York, she joined the Long Wharf Theater in New Haven and started sending out resumes. She then began a long career in theater, appearing in a production of Hamlet, as well as some Eugene O'Neill and Tennessee Williams plays. She even won 2 Obie Awards and was nominated for a Tony Award. After a couple appearances on TV, her first film role was in the 1980 film adaptation of Popeye starring Robin Williams. In this scene, she plays the mother of boxer Oxblood Oxheart.
You dare!
Hey, your mother's here? So what?
You bet on
Pleased to
me,
meet you,
mother.
ma'am. I'm a mother myself.
Then, in 1982, she was cast as Billy Kwan in The Year of Living Dangerously. Linda says that director Peter Weir was frustrated in trying to cast this role. He thought that Linda might work, so he brought her in. In a 2011 article for Daily Beast, Linda says, "I didn't quite understand what I was there for. I talked to the casting director about it, and he just said, this would be a part that you would play as a man. I said, holy shit, and laughed. For her screen test, casting put a hairpiece on her, a mustache, and paste-on pieces of eyebrow. One thing I can't help but think about, and I've brought this up before with other actors like Anne Ramsey or Warwick Davis, is how Linda felt about all this. From what I've read, the experience was both good and bad. She was confused for being a man by hotel staff during filming, which didn't feel nice. I cried a lot, she said. And she was also worried about her performance. She said, "I remember standing in the Manila hotel any number of days after just a wretched day, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to go somewhere when this film opens, just away, as fast as I could get, because I thought my performance was so awful." So let's talk about this movie. It's complicated. I had to watch it twice. And it's not like it's hard to follow, but the relationships and the characters have so many layers. I sat down to write about this movie after I watched it the first time and realized that I was just completely out of my depth. The year is 1965, the place, Jakarta, Indonesia. The story's fictional, but it takes place during an actual historical event, the coup of the 30 September movement against President Sukarno in Indonesia, who began to support a communist party in 1965. But no one knows that's coming yet. That's like a couple weeks out. Guy Hamilton, played by Mel Gibson, is an Australian journalist sent to Jakarta as a foreign correspondent. He's a bit frustrated and feels like a fish out of water at first because the journalist that was sent before him left Indonesia without giving him any of his contacts.
Where's Potter?
Mr. Potter has gone. He left you dead.
Gone? Where's he gone?
Back to Australia. I'm Bill Bartley. Please follow me.
In the beginning of the film, he struggles to get any kind of story or interview that would be deemed newsworthy, but he gets shut out wherever he goes. He meets Billy Kwan, who actually narrates the film.
I felt sorry for you. Dumped in your first posting without contacts. Adrift. Hoping to bluff your way through. Wally O'Sullivan, Sydney Herald.
Billy's a local photographer who worked with Guy's predecessor. They instantly have a connection when they meet. In this scene early on, Billy walks him through the slums of Jakarta, and they're already talking philosophy. We immediately get a sense of who these characters are from this short exchange.
$5 American would be a fortune to one of these people.
Wouldn't do any good. Just be a drop in the ocean.
That's the same conclusion Tolstoy came to. I disagree.
No, what's your solution?
Well, I support the view that you just don't think about the major issues. You do whatever you can about the misery that's in front of you. Add your light to the sum of light. You think that's naive, don't you?
Yep.
It's all right, most journalists do.
We can't afford to get involved.
Typical journo's answer.
Billy sees something in him and decides to help him get some exclusive interviews. The rest of the film focuses on Guy getting deeper into these news stories, going to great lengths to chase them in increasingly dangerous situations. For example, this scene where he and Billy are filming footage of a riot is scary. They almost get ripped apart. But Guy likes the danger. After getting injured and barely escaping, he says,
You get the shot?
Yes!
it becomes kind of a drug to him. Things escalate further when Billy introduces Guy to Jill, a British embassy worker, played by Sigourney Weaver. The two eventually begin an affair. The high that Guy gets from danger is perfectly represented in this scene, driving high speed through windy roads in Jakarta, barely looking at the road while making out with Jill. They encounter a military barricade. Impulsively, Guy drives right through it as the officers pelt the entire car with a shower of bullets. They both laugh uncontrollably. Meanwhile, Billy doesn't like what he sees. He thinks Guy is becoming reckless. He begins to think he may have misjudged him. This is a good time to mention that Billy has been keeping a file on Guy.
You have changed. You are capable of betrayal. Is it possible I was wrong about you?
He does this with everyone he meets. He photographs them, writes detailed notes about them, place of birth, astrological sign, physical appearance, personality, observations on who they are, and speculations on who they may become. Why does he do this?
Hey, what is all this stuff?
In any other Hollywood film, there might be a cheap reveal, like Billy is working as some kind of government spy.
Why the hell do you keep a file on me?
I keep files on just about everything.
What for?
That's my business.
Hey, look, if you're an operative for someone
I'm
else...
not.
Well, how am I supposed to know that?
You're just gonna have to trust me, aren't you?
But the answer to why he does this is much more complex and interesting, and although it's never really said outright why he does it, the reasons are implied in this climactic scene between Guy and Billy.
And when this thing breaks, it could change the whole political shape of Southeast Asia. And how far are my loyalties to Jill supposed to go?
I would have given up the world for her. You won't even give up one story.
It's not just a story. Damn it, it's the bloody story. Now, can't you understand that?
Don't you understand? You've lost Jill.
What have you told her? You told her
I gave
something.
her to you, and now I'm taking her back. Do you understand?
You gave it to me? For Christ's sake, you mad little bastard. You think you can control people's lives just because you got them in your bloody files?
I believed in you. I thought you were a man of light. That's why I gave you those stories you think are so important. I made you see things. I made you feel something about what you write. I gave you my trust. So did Jill. I created you.
Linda Hunt is amazing in this movie on so many levels. First off, and I really mean this as a compliment, as a man, she's 100% convincing. I went into watching the film knowing it was her, and it's a complete transformation. When you watch an actor and you simply don't see the actor, just the character, you know they're doing their job well. One thing I really appreciate is that Linda's portrayal of a man isn't overdone. It's not like we see Billy doing crude man things like grabbing his crotch or spitting or something. It's a very nuanced performance. There are subtle moments in Linda Hunt's physicality that give Billy an air of masculinity, like walking with his hands in his pockets, chewing gum, or this moment where he hops up on a desk and leans forward. Linda Hunt's portrayal of Billy won her an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in 1984.
There was an Indonesian phrase in the film which translates into English as water from the moon, and it means that which is unattainable, the impossible, that which one can never have or know. Making The Year of Living Dangerously for me was water from the moon.
As you can imagine, she started working a lot after this. After The Year of Living Dangerously, she had a supporting role in David Lynch's Dune.
I am the shuttered mapes, the housekeeper.
And one of my favorites was Stella, a barmaid in the Old West in the 1985 film Silverado.
Are you the Midnight Star herself?
I am. I'm always there, but I only shine at night.
She's magical when she talks. Whatever character she's playing, she always makes me smile. Also, around this time, she started getting some voiceover work. As I was making this episode, I was referring to her IMDb page to look for credits. I noticed a few voiceover roles here and there, but not much. Then I remembered this, the Self tab at the bottom in which all of Linda Hunt's work as herself is listed. Look at all this. Documentaries. She's narrated a lot of them, and it doesn't matter what the subject matter is, she's always phenomenal. She's narrated documentaries about the change of the American landscape.
For Americans, the automobile was the symbol of freedom and progress.
Human evolution.
Isolated nomadic bands of Neanderthals lived like this for 60,000 years.
The protection of the Amazon rainforest.
The Amazon, a distant land of mystery and romance.
She's pretty much the female Morgan Freeman. She's also used her voice heavily in fiction. Kids from my generation would recognize her as Grandmother Willow in Pocahontas.
Good morning, child. I was hoping you'd visit today.
She's also narrated the God of War video game series since its inception.
And Kratos cast himself from the highest mountain in all of Greece.
And here's just a quick honorable mention, narrating the title sequence to a television horror series called Nightmare Classics.
All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream.
That is terrifying. Throughout the 90s and early 2000s, she continued to work steadily. I always liked her as this nurse in She-Devil with Roseanne, in which she uses her life savings to help Roseanne's character start a business to help women that have been cast aside by society. And I know a lot of people must remember her as the principal in Kindergarten Cop. Not only is it a good sight gag to stand her next to Arnold Schwarzenegger, but her character is cleverly written to subvert expectations. Once we meet her, we're immediately thinking, oh, this is the principal that's gonna hate Arnold and his unorthodox manner of teaching. She's the foil. When Arnold's character notices that one of the children's being physically abused, he impulsively marches outside and confronts the father.
You hit the kid, I hit you. You bastard.
We expect what her reaction to this might be, but we're surprised to see this really sweet moment.
I have no idea what kind of police officer you are, but you're a very good teacher.
Thank you.
And then her line here is fantastic.
What did it feel like to hit that son of a bitch?
That's great. It's like she's been thinking about hitting this guy for years, and she's allowing herself this kind of intimate moment to savor it vicariously through Arnold.
Felt great.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow morning, bright and early.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at some of her lesser-known work. It's interesting that even in the projects most people haven't seen, she continued to play roles that would subvert audience expectations by playing powerful, authoritative women. She was a German assassin with a whip in the action comedy If Looks Could Kill.
If this is a business call, you'll need an appointment.
Maybe next time.
There will be no next time.
She played a military commander in the short-lived sci-fi series Space Rangers, and an editor for a fashion magazine in Ready to Wear. I love this scene where she's trying to sign this fashion photographer to her magazine.
I'll get you everything you want. I'd stake my job on it.
Would you now?
Yes, I would. And more than that.
What could be more than that, Miss Crumb?
Well, let's see. I would get down on my hands and knees if I thought it would help.
You never know. Might help.
I beg your pardon.
Well, you said, would it help if you got down on your hands and knees? And I said, well, you never know. Might help.
It might help. And you think I won't do that, don't you? Just you watch me. Does that make you happy? What the hell are you doing, you goddamn idiot? Cut that out! Out! No! Get out! Get the hell out of my room! Out! You know what you are? You are a goddamn amateur! You are the fucking Irish flavor of the month! Zap!
So Linda's played a lot of important, authoritative women, which subverts audiences' expectations. But what's interesting to me is that after a while, that becomes the norm, and doing the opposite of the opposite subverts expectations. It's kind of like Johnny Depp. You know, for a long time it was fun to watch him come up with all these colorful, quirky characters, but at this point, isn't it more fun to see him play a normal person? The first time I watched Chocolat, I thought, wow, he's not weird. It's kind of refreshing. It's the same thing with Linda Hunt. It's fun to see her play to her type sometimes and play characters that don't necessarily have an upper hand. But even in these roles where the characters wouldn't necessarily have any power, she somehow gives them power. Like when she played a quirky writer in the indie film Younger and Younger, or a nun studying near-death experiences in Dragonfly.
There are 100 steps on the ladder of consciousness between being fully alert and being dead. To put a patient under, they bring them down, only to the 10th rung. Beneath that is a descending grayscale, like the depths of an ocean no one has explored.
She just has this natural gravitas to her, and I really think it's her voice. Like she said, it makes her bigger. I love this role in the film 20 Bucks. She plays a homeless woman who discovers a $20 bill and sees it as destiny to play the serial numbers as lottery numbers.
There's luck and there's fate. Luck is for you small timers. This bill is my destiny! Thank you, damn motherfucking son of a bitch!
She's not able to get the ticket, and she later sees the exact same lottery numbers she would have played.
No! God damn. Motherfucking son of a bitch!
As we get into the 2000s, she appeared in the odd film here and there, like Yours, Mine, and Ours, and Stranger Than Fiction. But there's one job that she's been working for about 7 years now, and that's as a series regular on NCIS Los Angeles. She plays Hetty Lang, the operations manager of an elite division of the Naval Criminal Investigative Service. This role is definitely in her wheelhouse of authoritative.
Don't mock me.
I criticize, I scold, I chastise. I've even taught someone a new one, but I never mock.
It looks like a fun character to play, and and Hunt seems grateful to be a part of it.
What do you think your parents would think now?
They'd be so happy that I'm earning a check every week, a paycheck every week. They would be thrilled.
Nowadays, Linda continues to work on NCIS, and she lives happily with her wife, Karen, in Los Angeles.
Karen's 6 years younger, but I forgive her daily. I wake up.
Linda says that she's looking forward to retirement soon.
I look forward to a time when I don't have to work anymore.
Do you?
I really do, which is close at hand.
Honestly, I don't blame her. It seems like she just wants to spend the rest of her years living a quiet life with her wife. Despite her success, she's had some struggles internally along the way. In her interviews, she's always very well spoken and intelligent, and seems to have spent a great deal of time looking inwards. In an interview for New Straits Times, she said, "My past is littered with things I couldn't do because I was too small. It has been a problem, but it has also been my greatest strength. I think of it as a blessing. It's God's way of putting his special mark on me." I love that she sees it that way. Like she said, she spoke big so she could be big. And it worked. Time after time after time. She has this tenacity and a hard work ethic that was born out of adversity. That's inspiring to me. When life pushes you, you can either lie down and take it, or you can push back. I think that's what Linda did, and she's arguably a stronger and bigger person because of it.